when the destroyers weren't hurt in any way. The people weren't hurt, but they were firing at us, and we were firing back at them. And our firepower was a hell of a lot stronger than theirs, and they knocked the hell out of them.
All right, there you go. U.S. forces striking back in the Strait of Iran, straight at Iran after 3 of our Navy warships were targeted yesterday. Officials telling Fox the conflict is not a restart of the war and is not an end to the ceasefire. And Tehran is still reviewing the peace proposal as the Trump administration is reportedly looking to restart, quote, Project Freedom. Remember, we were going to get the Oman side of the strait, all while U.S. intelligence reportedly believes Iran could outlast the American blockade because they can sustain themselves for months, according to our CIA. Here to discuss this, retired four-star general, Fox News senior strategic analyst, chairman of the Institute of Study of War, General Jack Keane. General, you're all for restarting Operation Freedom, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, let me just to draw back on where are we. I mean, give President Trump the credit for starting this operation after October the 7th, when the Israelis were obviously devastatingly attacked. It was a recognition that this region, it's got to change, and we're going to have to force that change, and Iran is behind everything that's happening there. And this president acted on that. Other presidents, admittedly, the threat wasn't quite as bad as it is now, but largely ignored. So that's number one. Number two, we went to a ceasefire about a month ago. From the Iranians' perspective, that's what they wanted to achieve, stop the war. And we were supposed to get a negotiated deal in a couple of weeks. It did happen. They have purposely dragging this out. It's now been a month, and we still don't have much to show for it. I think the prospects of a good deal are likely slim. And even if we do get a deal, here's the problem with any deal that we make, assuming it meets all of our objectives. To get a deal, we will have to provide some funding for the Iranians, admittedly condition-based, and also sanction relief. So when you draw back from that, even after a negotiated settlement, what do we have? We have a regime that survives and also ability to recover. And I think that is fundamentally flawed. That's not where we started this operation to achieve. We want Iran back on its heels, suffering significantly and susceptible to resistance from their own people, internal pressure. So in my judgment, I think we got to see reality for what it is. We should go back and execute Project Freedom, take the Strait of Hormuz away from the Iranians, secure it and open it for navigation, and also at some point get some assistance in doing that. And then we have to unleash the Israelis. They have a very comprehensive bombing campaign that they're going to conduct, that deals with leadership, it deals with energy, it deals with all the weapon systems we still have to go through. Remember, from the outset, we don't talk about it very much, but it is a fact. The Israelis have always had more air power in this fight than we've had, and they still have more in it right now. So what they can do comprehensively here in terms of air power is significant. Remember, when we went to the ceasefire, we only had 2 weeks left. That was a month ago. And the U.S. can do limited bombing. The Straits of Hormuz, it doesn't look like a complicated operation when you just draw it on a map and put a circle around it, because it's a relatively small geographic area. But the layered defense extends well into Iran at some distance to be able to protect the Straits of Hormuz. So there's huge resources tied up in that. So we would be able to do some selected bombing in support of returning to combat operations, while the main effort for the United States would be to open up the Straits of Hormuz. The Israelis would take up the majority of the bombing campaign to bring us to an endpoint that I think makes a lot more sense in terms of where we're heading now.
So the Saudis did not want us, according to the Wall Street Journal, did not let us use our own bases, either the Kuwaitis, during Operation Freedom. They were concerned that they were going to be targeted, like the UAE was targeted, and we wouldn't come to their defense. I'm really not sure why they would think that. And that was part of the pushback and why they stopped it after 2 days. But the president says he's willing to put it into place. You also think we should use Kharg Island as a point of leverage. You attack us, you lose the entire thing, all your oil-producing facilities.
Yeah, well, one of the concerns that people in the administration have, and it's a legitimate concern, is that Iran has already demonstrated, obviously, they have the capability to hit oil infrastructure and energy targets of our allies and partners in the region. They did it at Qatar and in natural gas, and they've also have done it with the UAE and Saudi Arabia. But we have an ace here. Up our sleeve, so to speak. It's Kharg Island, and we're obviously blocking it now from any transport coming out of there, and that represents 90%, of their oil resources. So clearly, the blockade over time will force an economic collapse. And I've said from the outset that they are willing to withstand economic peril and even suffering to their own people much more than what we look at through our values in terms of what's reasonable. Right. They are not reasonable. They don't care about their people. But we can hold Kharg Island hostage. If you're going to attack Qatar's natural gas or the Saudis or the UAE's oil fields, we're going to begin to take Kharg Island away from you in terms of physical destruction. Right. And we communicate that to them very, very clearly and unequivocally what the intent is here. Yes, we still hold all the cards, Brian.
Right. Just real quick, the Washington Post says 75% of the mobile launchers are in place and 75% of its missile stockpiles in place. That's contradictory of almost everything we've heard. Who's telling the truth here?
Yeah, that's not accurate. I don't know what the exact number, but 75% is way off the mark. Now, look they do have ballistic missiles deeply buried in the storage site. This was one of the reasons why the timing and urgency of this operation began, because after the 12-day war, what the Iranians recognize is how vulnerable their ballistic missiles are. So they began to put the majority of them on deeply buried storage facilities, and they got Chinese assistance in terms of the type of fuel and other things. They were putting that program on acceleration. Israel was getting more and more concerned about it, as were we. They get to the point where the numbers are so great that we would overwhelm the defenses of U.S. bases and also Israeli civilian population centers. That was a sense of urgency in moving forward. We can block the entrances to those storage sites. We can't eliminate because they're so deeply buried. But we can make it much more difficult to get that stuff out of there. What they have been doing is, obviously, during a month-long ceasefire, they're excavating and taking launchers out and also ballistic missiles out of there. We can go back in there and systematically deny them the use of those launchers and those missiles that are in those storage facilities. That is absolutely physically possible using air power.
All right, General Jack Keane, it's my message. I think the theme we're getting from you, they don't have the message yet. We got to go back. General Jack Keane, thanks so much. Meanwhile, straight ahead, have a great weekend.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.